Alrighty, well, a very, very, very happy Tuesday, April the 18th of 2023. What's going on, everyone? Justin here with the throw and just getting settled in. Want to apologize for my absence as of yesterday because I was getting set up for the show. I had a couple of errands to run, and we ended up going on and had to get a couple of things done to end up pushing the time back over and over and over again. And then what ended up happening was that the weather, because it was nice and cold, it was windy and all that fun stuff, just took precedence and ended up kind of just gave me a terrible position to put on a show. So I want to apologize for not putting on a show as of yesterday, but very excited. We got a lot to talk about, you guys. We have ourselves plenty to talk about, including last night on Monday Night Raw. Now, the NBA and the NHL playoffs are officially among us, and there's already stories lingering around the NBA. And especially with what happened last night between Draymond Green and Sabois. And we'll definitely have that conversation in today's episode because, you know, it's simple. It's playoff time. People are going to be aggressive. But when you're the guy or one of the guys on a team that's in the playoffs, you could bet your bottom dollar that the referees are going to pay close attention to you, and you're not going to get a lot of, I guess you say, leeways. So, we are expected to be here for the remainder of the week. Hopefully, everything kind of just works itself out, and hopefully, this is a good show. Now, I am going to double check because it's been a couple days. I got to double check audio and make sure audio is sound and ready. All right. I'm happy with the audio, so we're looking pretty good here. All right, so what's the first thing we need to talk about? And I think we're just going to dive in to the WWE and everything that has progressed over the last 48 days. So a couple of days, as a matter of fact, because we missed SmackDown. Okay, we missed getting ready for SmackDown, and we missed, I guess, what you say, we didn't really get ready for Raw last night. So let's kind of catch up and talk to you guys about those couple of things. So, first of all, the WWE draft is going to be next Friday, from my mistake. If I'm not mistaken, the WWE draft is going to be underway next Friday, April the 28th, and is going to follow into that Monday. And I'm assuming, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that draft, then we head into Backlash, and then that Monday afterwards is when the draft would be official. Raw and SmackDown split brands. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are saying that this is This is a good, a lot of people don't like it, and a lot of people do like the brand split. This is the third, you would call brand split since they first started this 20 years ago. You have, and I feel like there's, we're about 3 weeks away from Backlash, and then we're about 2 weeks away from the draft. And I feel like a couple of things need to happen if you're going to run and have yourself a successful draft. One of those things are you're going to have general managers for both respected brands. Adam Pearce cannot jump back and forth between Raw and between SmackDown. I'm not saying that he's done a bad job. He's done a really good job, but he can't continue to go back and forth. I think there needs to be one GM for Raw and one GM for SmackDown. And this is when things get a bit exciting because we don't know what's in store. Now, all we've been told is that Triple H is claiming that this draft is going to be new and bigger and better. And second. There we go. So we talk about the draft, and it's supposed to be coming next Friday. And we talked about the GMs, and it's exciting. This is going to be exciting because officially, and I hope as long as everything goes down the right path, that we can see Triple H, Paul Levesque, be the one who has complete control over who goes to what brand, what's the new ideas. We did not quite see a come up that we expected the night after WrestleMania. And usually the night after WrestleMania is notorious for people to either make their debuts, either to make their returns, or whatever the case may be. And we didn't quite see that the night after WrestleMania or falling into, SmackDown. And I'm not here to go mean mug or, be hatred towards Matt Riddle, but let's be real for a moment. Matt Riddle didn't necessarily throw a pop out, oh, great, he returned. And I feel like I've expressed myself and how he is on, involvement with the Bloodline, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. But I hope that with this draft, Triple H says everyone is available. And I'm like, great. So everyone is available, and hopefully we see some new things happen. Now, that means we could see some come-ups from from NXT, which is great. We could hopefully see one or two possible returns, just like we saw Shinsuke Nakamura back on Friday night return. I thought that was wonderful. But we really just don't know what is to come of this WWE draft. So we're waiting and seeing. Next Friday, April 28th, not the 18th, April the 28th. I knew I messed up somewhere. Exactly 10 days from today, we will see the beginning of the WWE draft. All right. So what do we got talking for us today? The NBA will get you into the highlights, the updates, and the stories that linger around the NBA. The NHL began their postseason, and we'll talk a little bit about that. The Cincinnati Reds beat considerably the best team in baseball as of today in the Tampa Bay Rays. And they beat them through the bullpen. And they're hoping, with 2 games left in this homestands and 2 games left in this series, they're hoping, sending Nick Lodolo out tonight, that the Reds could go on and pull off a victory. So we're talking about the Reds and the Rays coming up later in our program. The NFL draft. is still here, is among us. And it's a week from Thursday. And where does that place the Cincinnati Bengals at? We're going to start talking about the draft as the draft gets closer, getting back into football. You also think about things such as, I'm just thinking here, things such as, we'll talk about the Jalen Hurts deal and that new franchise quarterback for the next 6 years for the Eagles. And what does that have to necessarily do with Joe Burrow? And we'll talk about that here in today's program. All right. We're kind of all over the place, so I apologize because we're just getting underway. We're trying to, it's been a couple of days since we've been on the air, so we're getting right back into the swing of things. So the first thing I think comes to mind is, what did you guys think of Monday Night Raw last night? Now, I didn't necessarily watch from start to finish the Raw. I caught bits and pieces, and it seemed to be okay, right? I mean, there's a couple different directions that the WWE, I guess, is going down heading into this draft. And, I am optimistic about the future. I'm willing and ready to give, the WWE the benefit of the doubt, the opportunity, the chance to, come off this draft and see what they have in store for the future. So last night we saw actually a couple of things. We actually saw some matches confirmed at Backlash on May 6th. We saw Adam Pearce, who gave Cody Rhodes the clearance to, hey, you're not going to call out Brock Lesnar. You two are not going to get into a feud tonight, but in return, I'll give you what you want, and that's a match with Brock Lesnar. And right off the bat, Brock Lesnar is Cody Rhodes is now on the road to build himself back up, right? Cody Rhodes, we talked about this heavily the past few weeks. He goes and he loses against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and this is an indication that, all right, this feud isn't done. We know that this feud between Roman and Cody isn't done, but what we do know is that Cody Rhodes has to come back and earn that title shot once again. And the first obstacle that stands in Cody Rhodes' way is Brock Lesnar. Now I've expressed myself previously that I like this idea. I like the concept that Cody Rhodes has to go to Brock Lesnar. And if they play this storyline right, the build up back to Roman Reigns, then I really do truly believe that this could be a good storytelling in the making. It kind of concerns me with the upcoming draft where Cody Rhodes is in place, because we have this draft coming up and there's a lot of questions that I think that are left unanswered. And so we have to answer them. And one of the questions that we see is, what are they going to do with the titles? And I mean, what are they planning on doing with the Roman Reigns undisputed WWE Universal Championship? Is this title something that is going to be cross-branded? Because the whole point of a draft and a brand split is to split the brands in half and have talent on Raw, have talent on SmackDown, and only confine into their restraints to, where the storylines could go. You don't want to see Raw rosters go over to SmackDown and SmackDown go over to Raw on the note that, unless I think if it's warranted. And the only time something like that is warranted is if we, like Survivor Series, you do War Games, SmackDown versus Raw. So Cody Rhodes has his foot, he has his work cut out for him. And it's going to be interesting to see who goes to what brand and if they're going to implement it. Because if they don't implement it, it all goes up in the air, right? If you don't implement this draft, you don't implement, all right, you're drafted to Raw, you're going to stay on Raw, right? Don't show up on SmackDown. If you implement it, you could be like, all right, here we go. So, all right, I gotta talk about something when we come back from break, and that is the we're gonna talk about the Mayhem from Raw. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back, regroup, and talk about the mayhem that happened and the chaos that ended Monday Night Raw, which got me very fired up for today's program. So I want to thank everyone and say hello. If you guys are watching us on our YouTube channel, hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Be sure to have those notifications on and don't miss a single episode, for every, weekdays. And then if you guys are watching us on Facebook and our Twitter, we thank you. Hit that like button. Share this video with a friend. Say, hey, we're live. And if you're looking to come into the comment section, I want to hear what you guys have to say. So come into the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about the stories that we're talking about today. If there's something that you guys want me to weigh in my opinions or my thoughts, and I'll be gladly to answer them for you in the comment section on our live show. If you guys are listening to us on our audio platforms, we thank you for downloading us and making us your sports talk show. So we're going to take a first time out of the program. Come on back. 2 hours with Justin here on the Throw-In, available on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. $12:20 here on the program. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. This program is given to you thanks to StreamYard Studios. Create your podcasts, videos, host virtual business meetings, and conduct interviews. Check out the free version today at StreamYard.com, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Also want to give a shout out to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. All right, so here's the timetable for people who are trying to keep up and follow the WWE and what's coming up. We have the WWE draft 10 days from today, which is Friday, April 28th on SmackDown. And then that's going to roll over into Monday Night Raw. And from my understanding, I think then the rosters will be separated after Backlash, which is May the 6th. So but we had Mayhem last night, and it kind of got me excited and looking forward to realistically what potentially could come. I don't know how to talk about this because it relays into what the next topic that I wanted to talk about on this program. But let's talk about the Mayhem for a second last night on Raw, where basically what you guys saw at the beginning of the program was that business had to be done between the Judgment Day and the Bloodline. Both fractions stood in the center of the ring and basically said, hey, I'm going to help you and you help us. And it kicked things off between Solo Sikoa and Rey Mysterio. And then at the end of the night, we saw a 6-man tag team match between Riddle, Sammy, and Kevin versus the Judgment Day. And the goal was Solo Sikoa was going to take out Rey Mysterio. In return, the Judgment Day was going to manhandle, take out Riddle, Sammy, and Kevin. This is all before the 6-man tag match that is scheduled for Backlash on May 6th, where the Bloodline, Solo and the Usos, take on Riddle, Sammy, and Owens. So, and at the end of this match, what we saw was Sammy, Riddle, and Kevin become victorious. The Bloodline comes out and says, all right, we're going to take matters into our own hands. And then you see LWO come out in return to not only save Riddle, Sammy, and Kevin, but to attack the Judgment Day. So now we see not one, not two, but 4 fractions get involved in a chaotic finish of Monday Night Raw. And like I said, it got me legitimately excited, stoked to see the possibilities of what we can do. It's been so long of a time. And, you know, LWO is, for a lot of new people, exciting. There is energetic, and all that. But to see the mix with Judgment Day, to see the mix with, because the whole purpose is that, and I believe maybe next week we'll see this or something, but one thing that we're going to be, I think we'll see at Backlash is LWO taking on the Judgment Day because of, you know, with the whole incident of Bad Bunny. Now, this is where it kind of leads into me. And out of this entire group, I want to talk about the Judgment Day. All right. Because it leads into my next conversation that I have here. The Judgment Day, and that is taking 10 steps back. So this all started because over the weekend, or matter of fact, last week, there was rumors and reports that CM Punk is going to be returning to AEW. And I was thinking to myself, and I when I first heard this news, I rolled my eyes. I was like, just, God, this is ridiculous. Why are we having to be treated to this? Like, it's not, for me, I don't hate CM Punk. I don't want to say that. And I'm not saying that he's not, you know, he's a future Hall of Famer. And I'm not saying anything that he's done in the past isn't rememberable and this isn't historic, right? You know, I mean, he has done something that I think a lot of, you know, he has changed to a new era of professional wrestling. But for me, I feel like every time he's in the news, every time he's in the Storyfront location, CM Punk is just in the negative, right? Whether that's him commenting negative thoughts about, you know, about the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, whether that is, oh, he's injured, whether that is, oh, you know, he's going to take a stab at somebody. I just feel like every time Punk is in the news, it's one of those negative remarks, and it just never turns out good. There's never anything positive. And for me, right now in professional wrestling, okay, I'm not just talking about WWE. I'm not just talking about AEW. I'm talking about professional wrestling. What we see is a forward movement in professional wrestling. And if you're not going to jump on the same board, or if you're not, you know, you're injured, people are quickly to move past you. Now, I'm not saying that CM Punk wasn't the greatest at what he did at his time. He was pretty damn good at it, but he is not the greatest anymore. Okay, there are several athletes that have legitimately surpassed him, today. We're talking about Roman Reigns and the Bloodline alone. We're talking about Kenny Omega, which is, to remember, 2 years ago, he held what, 6, 7 titles at once across the board. And, these are guys who are surpassing legends from the 80s and the 90s. So my point is that, everyone is easily replaceable. And I think it's a bum that CM Punk got hurt and he's out of action. And for me, that there's just no excitement right now when CM Punk decides, hey, I want to return, or when he does return. For me, there's just no pop. I don't feel it. And I'm not feeling his return. And I feel like because people, and I don't know that because he's not the only one who can make a pipe bomb. He's not the only one that compete in the ring. He's not the only one that can win championships. He's not the only one that can sell merchandise. Regardless if he returns to WWE or he returns to AEW, or if he even goes to a New Japan Pro Wrestling, I don't think he's the hottest entity of that brand. Maybe he can become a hottest entity if he joined NWA, or if he joined Impact Wrestling, possibly. Even Ring of Honor, maybe go back to Ring of Honor, right? I mean, he talked so highly of making Ring of Honor and how much his career impacted because of Ring of Honor. Maybe go back to Ring of Honor, and he could have some sort of success over there. But he just doesn't give me that excitement when he comes out of the ring. So, in my sense, because of his injury, he's taken 10 steps backwards. I want to relate this to the Judgment Day, because we take a look at the Judgment Day and what they're trying to do, and we proclaim. I'm not the only one that came on, on YouTube, on social media, and said, "Hey, the Judgment Day was going to have a year to remember. This is their year." We were pointing that this was their year, and it started at WrestleMania. There were 3 matches that they should have all won, and yet they went 1 for 3. Okay, and I feel like at this moment, Rhea Ripley takes a different position and threshold over the Judgment Day, other than what we are seeing, from Finn Balor. Finn Balor should have won his match at Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania against Edge. There's no I think the storyline called for him winning. Right? This match between Edge and Finn Balor a few weeks ago was all because of Finn Balor and replacing Edge in the Judgment Day. It's made Edge's life so miserable. All right. And Edge goes on to win. I say kudos, round of applause. But what does this actually do? What does this mean for Edge moving forward? So he won a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. Great. Congratulations. But what was he building towards? What's next? We haven't really quite heard from him since WrestleMania. You think about the Judgment Day needing a push, a victory solidifies. Finn Balor is in his right spot. He belongs. It's not like Edge came back and took over the Judgment Day. Finn Balor lost, I think, hurts a lot for the Judgment Day moving forward. This isn't a good start for the 2023 year at which they were supposed to have success at. Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio. Yes, I saw this match go either way, honestly. But if they're looking to expand this storyline, how come Dominic couldn't win at WrestleMania? It would have pushed him a lot more, right? It would have put him at the level he could be wearing his, crown up high, hold his chin up high and say, hey, I beat my father. I did what I said I was going to do. I beat the deadbeat dad out of him. And now what this would have sparked in my eyes is that Rey needs to find a way to get revenge and say, listen, I cannot let this happen. I think, that type of storyline moving forward pushes LWO and the Judgment Day together, pushes Ray and Dominic to a rematch, possibly at SummerSlam. In the sense of, okay, then Ray could pick up a victory and then turn the tables. Damian Priest wasn't really a part of, other than the outside interference that he was, with Dominic. He wasn't a part of WrestleMania a couple of weeks ago. And he kind of takes a back burner to the Judgment Day right now. He has no legitimate storyline going on other than maybe right now with Bad Bunny. And that's the only relations he has, but Bad Bunny is not an everyday athlete. So where is his storyline fits? Where does he fit? He's just some guy right now that has incredible talent off of potential that's being wasted along the sides of helping Dominic push, and Dominic's not even getting that big push. So the Judgment Day, although Rhea Ripley won her SmackDown titles, I feel like Finn's still trying to be the face of it when we know that Rhea is going to get that push. And I guess my thing is that they're taking 10 steps backwards. Both Finn and Dominic losing at WrestleMania, taking 10 steps backwards. And a perfect, example, example of all this was last night when the Judgment Day could not handle business and fell short to Sammy, Riddle, and Kevin. And I think it's hurting the faction. It's hurting the group. And it makes you wonder if the WWE is potentially planning on dismantling the Judgment Day. Because I'm like, if, I feel like in the next 3 to 6 months, if this continues, the Judgment Day is going to be like Retribution, is going to be an afterthought with very little success. And I really did think that there was going to be a lot of, I thought this year was going to be the year for the Judgment Day. I thought this year was going to be the year where, Finn goes on and win, it gets in the title picture. Maybe even Dominic and, Damian becomes tag team titles, and all that fun stuff. But I guess it troubles me that they're losing. They're going in the complete opposite direction. And a loss last night is taking 10 steps back. Now, I heard a conversation about, I saw an article of a rumor that spread saying that when the WWE has its draft next week, that we could potentially be seeing Dominic go down to NXT. And I thought to myself, as soon as I saw that, I was like, no. You're talking about 10 steps backwards. That's 20 steps backwards. I mean, so I'm going to be honest with you. Dominic is not where I want him to, I think he should be at. And that's because he's still in this feud with his father. So there's always a resemblance. And then, he's done a good job with the Eddie Guerrero runoff. But until Dominic, he still has a lot of things to work on. And that's why he's paired with Judgment Day, because he could work on those things. But until Dominic creates a character for himself that has nothing to do with Eddie and has nothing to do with Ray, then I don't think people could start taking him seriously. I'm sorry, but this whole quote-unquote going to jail and having this new thug life, I'm not buying it. I never bought it from day one, and I'm not buying it from now. And although I wouldn't necessarily disagree with WWE for saying, hey, Dominic, I think you need some work. Can you go down to NXT and build with some of these talents and build with your, work with Sean, work with your promos, work with your selling and all that stuff? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think it's going to benefit him in his career. And I think, the clock is ticking for Ray and how long he's going to be up in the competing in wrestling, that I think Dominic going down is just going to, I think, tear Dominic a little bit more. Judgment Day is on a backward motion. And in the WWE, you got to move forward. All right? Matt Riddle Well, let me, you know what? Let's cut to a break and let me explain to you about Matt Riddle in an example of being taken 10 steps backwards here. You guys are listening to The Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
She goes her own way, like they don't give a damn, girl. And my God, she owns it. So many heartbreaks, goes back to 2014, and I think that she knows it. And if you've seen her, I know that you would believe it, 'cause I know that you'd want her to. Yeah, I do. Everyone's taking their shot, but missing out on the cut. I think she knows that. She drives him crazy when she's looking like that. The way she's moving makes her want it so bad. Gets the attention that we wish that we had. Yeah, it's almost cruel, 'cause I want her to. Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, 12:43 here on the program. Welcome on back. Hey, NXT is tonight. Carmelo Hayes appears on the Grayson Waller effect. NXT Tag Team Titles Gallus takes on the Creed Brothers and Diod. I said that correctly. And North American Championship is on the line as Wes Lee takes on Charlie Dempsey. That's all live tonight on NXT.
But you'll be missing the cut. I think she knows that. She drives him crazy when she's looking like that.
I'm just trying to update, see what's possibilities of things moving forward, and we'll learn more about that here later on. All right, we are back, and we were talking about with you guys the taking 10 steps backwards, and we left off talking about Matt Riddle. And we're left off talking about Riddle and the concept of, all right, you're taking steps back in everything that you're trying to do. And it's quite frustrating. And Matt Riddle was one of them. He got, he was suspended because of whatever reasons that I think for using illegal, for failing a drug test from the WWE. And he was gone for past WrestleMania. Now, I understand that people may believe that he is something big or special and he may get a pop, but realistically, I mean, he's realistically nothing very special. And I talked about this last week. I didn't feel like he fit right into the, to this understanding of how, where this Bloodline and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens feud progressed. I mean, I know he's had some past history with them, but he doesn't, for me, quite fit in to that response. So my point is that in professional wrestling, you're moving forward, always moving forward. And if you're not, if you're not out there every week, if you're not relevant every week, then you fall behind, you get forgotten about. And, whether it's Judgment Day, whether it's CM Punk, whether it's Riddle, there's, you're easily replaceable. And if you're not going to progress forward, you're taking steps backwards in your career, then it's going to be easy to get lost in the mix. The only reason why the Judgment Day is still relevant after losing 2 of 3 matches at WrestleMania is because of Rhea Ripley, because of Rey Mysterio, because of LWO, because of Bad Bunny. Let's face it. Let's be honest, right? The only reason why the Judgment Day is relevant is because of those things. If they lost, they would have just been shuffled back to the bottom of the roster. Okay, let me also throw in the fact that these are men that they depend on Raw each and every week, which I hope when they do this draft, they go back to 2 hours on Raw because there's just so much that third hour. Even Triple H has stated that third hour is, a bunch of content that is hard to create, very difficult to create. So professional wrestling is a forward moving option. If you're not moving forward, whether it's in your career, your storyline, your feud, whatever the case may be, then you're moving backwards. All right, we got to talk about Trish Stratus as she came on last night on Raw and addressed the WWE in a statement about her reasoning after attacking Becky Lita backstage and costing Becky Lynch the women's tag team titles. So this is what she has to say.
We're going to start with a little history lesson here, kids. When I first came to the WWE, women's wrestling was a joke.
Agreed.
And I proceeded to single-handedly change everything.
Okay. So far with you.
I brought credibility to a non-existent women's division. And I know some of you are going to say, but it was Trish and Lita.
Yeah, I would say that.
No. There was no we. It was me.
Oh, okay.
I was the women's division. I was the trailblazer. I was the first woman to main event Raw, and I was the first woman to make you people give a crap about the women's division.
That is very true. We will not deny.
Because I changed everything. It's true. You know it. But you wouldn't believe that if you listen to Becky Lynch. See, Becky Lynch would have you believe that the women's revolution started with the 4 horse ladies.
Yes.
That they broke boundaries. That they made people care about the women's division again.
About 10 years ago, yeah.
Well, that statement, like you, Becky, is a joke.
What's that?
And I sat back for a long while and I let it slide. And, I get selling yourself, call yourself the man, brag about your accomplishments, and go on with your bad self. Trish Stratus is nobody's sidekick.
Come on, just say the beat word.
This.
It looks fantastic.
Not a sidekick.
No. Lita's not a sidekick either, to be honest.
And it was getting a little sad, even a little embarrassing. So I had to take Lita out of the picture because, to put her out of her misery. Yeah, I did that. Just to be clear, because you guys are a bit slower, I did that.
You did?
I took out Lita. Yeah. And the reason I needed Lita out of the picture is because I needed it to be crystal clear that the person who screwed Becky Lynch out of her titles was me.
Okay. All right, you did
I am not a nostalgia act. I am not your childhood fantasy, and I sure as hell am nobody's sidekick.
All righty.
I am the greatest of all time, and I am the single most important figure in the history of WWE, and I'm here to make sure none of you forget it.
All right. I think that is well said. All honesty. I mean, Trish, let's not forget that Trish Stratus, and we can argue this until we're blue in the face, right? I think we can understand that Trish Stratus is not just some woman who, how do you put this? I agree. There are ever since the WWE, and I think before the WWE came fun, and before Vince McMahon, women for the longest time, women always were a thought of being glamorous, gorgeous on television for the men to view, and it was a way to have people tune in. But there was people like Trish, and people like Lita, people but like Beth Phoenix, females like, the great Moolah, Mae Young, that revolutionized women's wrestling. And, Trish Stratus and Lita, it was a difficult time. And I validate her explanation. It was, Trish Stratus and Lita was 20 years ago. And Becky Lynch and the Four Horsewomen were about 10 years ago, right? Where this was a little bit more fresh, a little bit more rejuvenated. And it is arguably, Trish Stratus was a huge part, along with Lita, along with women's like Victoria and Stable, who made an impact, who showed everyone that women can wrestle. They could put on the good storylines and good matches. Thanks to Finlay. Can't have this conversation without mentioning Finlay. And I get it. Trish Stratus and Lita should be on the same page. At the end of the day, these two women, were the epitome of the women's division. And yes, there was many women that came after them that tried to do the same thing. And, it was a movement, and it still is a movement, because women are still growing in the wrestling industry, and they're doing things for the very first time that we never thought of or heard of, or things that, are outdoing the men. I'm sorry, but, prime example, NXT ladder match back at Stand and Deliver with Roxanne Perez and the other women. That was phenomenal. And I loved them every ounce of that match. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair just had an incredible match at WrestleMania. I think this is working up to be an extremely good feud. I think they're keeping it simple. Now, I came on here last week and I told you guys I just didn't like the way that Trish went about it. It felt like they were out of sync, or they weren't organized as well. And I'll stand by that, to be honest. All right, let's face it. And maybe both of them could look back and watch and be like, yeah, I agree with you. We could have done a little bit better. But the ultimate point is that I think it's flat out, we understand what the situation is and why Trish did what she did. And, there are validations for that. Becky Lynch has been one who thinks that she's at the top of the game. And currently right now on the roster, she could be one of the tops. Absolutely. But she wasn't the one who created all of this. You don't see Bayley going around. Bayley's, go ahead. But you don't see Sasha Banks or Charlotte Flair going around saying we created all of this. And I think when it comes down to Lita, when it comes down to even Trish just alone, she does need to address all four horsewomen if that's the case, because they do claim that they started this women's revolution. But if it wasn't for females like Trish, who did what they did at a time where it was unheard of and it was actually frowned upon, then then they wouldn't be here today, right? It would be inspirations. I think this is a nice, simple rivalry that is self-explained, and it's entertaining. And hopefully, this match between Becky and Trish at some point can break off into something exciting, something that is motivating down the road. And we're seeing two generations of phenomenal athletes gonna be going to get, going one-on-one with each other at some point. I don't know if that's gonna be at Backlash, or a lot of people are saying that this match is gonna be at SummerSlam this year. So Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, are we excited about the match? Are we excited about a potential match with these two females, two top of their game females. I mean, Trish looks phenomenal. She does look like she has what it takes. I just think she's been out of the ring a little too long to, that it's going to take time. But can this storyline get over to the next level, to the way that they want to tell this overall? Our number one is complete. We're going to wrap up wrestling conversations right now because we got a lot of stuff to talk about in our number two among the NBA, the NHL, the Cincinnati Reds, the NFL, and some breaking news coming out of the NFL that I think a lot of people will be proud of. Don't go nowhere. Our number two is coming on back here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty, our number two here on the program. Want to welcome everyone back to the throw-in, back to our beginning of the week, and want to give a shout out and say thank you to our home of the audio platforms and Spreaker from iHeartRadio. Spreaker is the proud home of where the throw-in is uploaded each and every episode. Don't miss this episode. Take us out on the road by downloading us on all major audio platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and much more. The throw-in is available. And if they're not available, you can't find it, look me up, DM me, let me know, and I'll be able to find that out for you as well. Spreaker, you're able to see your analytics and be able to monetize your episodes that you upload, your podcasts. Check out Spreaker.com for more information. Just coming in across the way, we gotta break in some of this news. And throughout the last segment, I just kind of been glancing over because whenever I do this program, I like to have Sports Center or ESPN on in the background, and I'm like, oh, no way, this can't be. And it is. So coming back, some breaking news, some big breaking news. According to Bills GM, Bills general manager Brandon Beane, who's told reporters today that Damar Hamlin, has been cleared to resume football activities. Damar Hamlin was the safety who collapsed at Paycor Stadium last season during Monday Night Football game early in the first quarter, and was rushed to the hospital. Pronounced he had complications, chest complications. Back on that Monday Night Football was a week before Week 18, and they stopped the game. It was very touching, very heartfelt. And he's making a amazing comeback. And according to general manager Brandon Beane, today Damar saw his last specialist on Friday. Long and short of it, when he left Cincinnati, he came here to Buffalo General. He saw a couple of specialists here in Buffalo, and then since then, he's seen 3 additional specialists. Most recently on Friday, they're all in agreement. It's not 2-1, not 3-1 or anything like that. They're all in lockstep of what this was, and that he is cleared to resume full activities just like anyone else who was coming back from an injury or whatever. It was said by general manager of the Buffalo Bills. He also says that, so he's fully cleared. He's here, and he is of the mindset. He is in a great headspace to come back and make a return. I think that is just amazing. We're seeing The last year I think held a lot of injuries. I think it shocked a lot of people. And we saw Tua Tagovailoa with concussions, but I think what ended up happening on that night was, I think it put us at a pause because no one ever went through that. It's once in a lifetime that you ever experience something. And this was a natural effect. And, a lot of people will say he literally died on the field. They revived him. He was in critical condition to the point where they stopped the NFL game, which respectfully, right so. But the fact that, we're sitting here in April, that was June, July, January, February, March, 4 months after this condition, several specialists and doctor's appointments later, and Damar Hamlin is capable of returning as the safety to the Buffalo Bills. And I wanted just to be the first out here and say I wish him the best of luck. Now, for me, just like a Tua Tagovailoa situation, makes you very cautious and makes you very concerned moving forward with a player that has sustained such great injuries. Because we don't know any long-term effect that this could potentially cause us. And we want to do everything we can, not just the Buffalo Bills, but the fans of NFL and everyone else, to prevent an incident like this from happening. So, and I'm not no doctor. I'm not going to go say what he needs to do. It's not a 2-to-1 call like they mentioned. It was all specialists agreed that he's capable of returning to football, which I think is fantastic news. I'm going to sit here on my end and just be concerned. He's back with the team as teams reported back, this week, heading into the draft, heading into, the preparation of the preseason. And there are concerns that I think we are taking, at least I take, when it comes down to something like this. I get concerned that, I want to do everything we can to prevent this. But I think this is a statement that I think Damar Hamlin needs, the players who get injured needs, and saying, all right, I am going to do what I can to take care of myself. And there's no doubt that he is. But then to be able to come back onto the field. Now, I don't know what his future is going to hold. I don't know how much longer he's going to decide that how he wants to play. I'm sure he's going to want to play as long as he can. And I'm okay with that. So, as long as there's proper care. I guess if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I hope that they do just proceed with caution. But it's the mix, and I don't want to ruin the damper. So congratulations back to Damar Hamlin. I can't wait to see him at practice on the field. I can't wait to see him on opening, on the first game of the season. I think this is great news, remarkable news coming out of April the 18th, and the news that we will remember in history today as we head into the NFL draft. You know what else we have to start remembering is this NFL contract that Jalen Hurts signed. He agreed to 5 years, $255, $255 million, with the Philadelphia Eagles, the highest paid player on an annual basis in the NFL history. Let's break you down some of the numbers that came into this contract here. Total guaranteed is $179.3 million. Fully guaranteed at signing. So when Jalen Hurts signed this contract, it's going to be $110 million. Fully guaranteed by March 2024 will be $126.5 million. First no trade clause in Eagle history also. Talking about breaking down barriers. And this is a huge contract for a quarterback who had a lot to prove this year, went to the Super Bowl but lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. And he gets this historical deal. Now, I think it makes you question, okay, so if Jalen Hurts gets this deal, and by the way, you think he's only 24, 25? If Jalen Hurts gets this deal, then why can't Joe Burrow get this mega contract? See, this is where the question, I think, leans towards a bit, right? Because you're seeing contracts thrown out there left and right. And the contracts state that, hey, listen, quarterbacks are going to get paid. And they're going to get paid more and more as the years go on. And Jalen Hurts got his money after a season. Joe Burrow is going to get paid. But how much do you think now, knowing that this is what Jalen Hurts is going to get, how much do you think Joe Burrow will accept? Now, I understand that Joe Burrow is like, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm going to listen. I feel like I'm going to do, I want to make sure that I don't take too much so that, the Bengals can go out and sign other players. But at the end of the day, isn't it just all about money still? I mean, isn't it all about player, getting paid and making sure that you're, especially early on? So, for me, I guess when I look at Jalen Hurts in this deal, okay, and I kind of look at this, what does this mean for the Cincinnati Bengals? That means Joe Burrow could potentially be like, listen, I think I'm worth that much. And you know what? If Joe Burrow walks in and says, hey, I'm worth $300 million for 6 years. You know what? I think he is worth $300 million for 6-7 years, or even for 5 years. And the Bengals are going to have to decide if that's just something that they're going to go down or not. Because what we've already seen is we've seen a huge chunk of the Bengals roster, defensive roster, leave, right? I mean, the Bengals have doing their due diligence again and going out and trying to stack up this offensive line to protect Burrow. All right, they have Irv Smith Jr., who I think Zach Taylor is pretty confident about throwing in at the tight end position because Hayden Hurst is no longer with the team. You also got, who's that other tight end? I think it's Sam, not Sam. Gosh, I know, I'm remembering the name. I forgot the name off the top of my head. But they have that other, tight end that's looking to bounce back and have a breakout year. So, and this and all this, greatness is that, we still need defensive players that are going to give us, that number, top 5 defense that we were last year. We need, we still need some X, Y, and Z factors that we hopeful to get into the draft. But if we have now an idea of possibly what Joe Burrow is going to be asking for coming up here very shortly. And if we go dump 260 to 275 to even $300 million in Joe Burrow, which, like I testify, I think he is worth that X figure amount, then there's just that much less room for the Bengals to go out there and sign veteran guys that we know can get the job done. We're going to go back to being reluctant on, and I hope that whatever this deal is, we'd be reluctant on going off of young rookie talents. Now, we already have an established, offensive team. But then I think the questions start opening up a little bit more. Are we going to get rid of Joe Mixon? Or, what are we going to do with defensively? I think this also maybe changes the draft pick. So what this has done, this has given us a baseline, right? Jalen Hurts, in signing with this new deal with the Eagles, has given, I think, the Bengals a baseline. Saying, I think I would be remarkably surprised to see Joe Burrow accept anything less than 250 on a 5-7 year deal. So you're thinking about, all right, I'm going to pay my quarterback above $250 million deal down the road. I'm going to have to free up some cap space. That means these guys I can't re-sign. So what do? Do we just keep on, which now then you go into the draft, which is in 9 days away, right? A day from a week from Thursday. And you ask yourself, all right, what is next? Well, do we still go the offensive line approach, or because we know that we may have to go conceal a deal with Joe Burrow that's worth almost a quarter of $1 billion, right? To maybe we have to reconstruct our draft to defensive players to help us out. So I think this provides a really big, interesting storyline among what is going on in the NFL. And I think Jalen Hurts, and congratulations to Jalen Hurts, signing this, like I said, 5-year, $255 million contract with, the highest paid player on the annual base in NFL history. No trade clause or anything like that. He's going to be with the Eagles through 2028. And hopefully the Eagles at some point have a Super Bowl win with them, because it would be a major loss if they don't. To see Jalen Hurts come to the point where he was almost becoming an afterthought to being like, all right, now I'm going to get the highest paid quarterback. But like I said, the baseline is just with Jalen Hurts, because as we see Joe Burrow make that deal at some point, as soon as we see, Trevor Lawrence, if they continue, they're going to be cutting a deal like that at some point down the road. And then you see, as a quarterback, you see guys like Bryce Young is coming into this into this draft, CJ Stroud. This is where the NFL is going to be at here in the next 3 to 5 years. We're going to see easily by 2028, 300 to 350, $350 million contract signings for these quarterbacks that are still yet to come. And I think it's fathomably ridiculous, crazy, like exciting, but crazy at the same time. So a lot of talk there. All right, our number one continues. We're going to come back and get you all the highlights and updates of the Cincinnati Reds as they beat the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday. Hunter Greene left after just 3 innings. How is he doing? We'll tell you all about that still to come. You're listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Hunter Greene, coming off his best effort of the season, did not walk a man, struck out 10.
Randy Arozarena returns to the Rays lineup.
Nice handle, Senzel on the in-between hop.
Arozarena's out despite a blistering one hopper to the third baseman. 1-2-3 first.
Jalen Beeks against Kevin Newman. That's a hitter's swing. Arozarena watches, and it clears. Bye-bye baseball. Home run, Kevin Newman. The Viking helmet out, the cape on.
Well, it appears that the Reds will have a new pitcher after Hunter Greene got hit on the shin with the ground ball. He is out of the ball game.
So, of course, we hope the best for Hunter.
Here's Josh Lowe, a bloop hit his first time.
Indy, a hard break to his right. Scoops on the forehead. Shovel on a bounce. And Barrero picks it.
It was a glove scoop from India, but he's able to get the out on the fourth and second. The inning is over.
So double, walk, bases loaded.
DJ Friedel will walk his first time up. And Friedel lines it to right center field. That is down. It's in the gap, and it's going to score at least 2. Friedel back to second and just does get back to second. But it's a 3-run double for TJ Friedel. And the Reds have a 4-0 lead.
4-run lead in some peril. Bases loaded, 2 outs. The third reliever of the night is Ian Chabot.
Manuel Margot is sent to step in against him.
Tip to right, tough play. Fraley extends and he makes the catch.
What a play by Jake Fraley. And I didn't think Fraley had a chance. A huge run-saving play by Fraley. Reds still lead it 4-0.
Defense proved to be the game changer.
That's why we show these kind of things, because it doesn't necessarily show up in the scorebook, but just as important as some of the offense tonight.
Preserved the shutout so far in the game, Jake Fraley.
So Fairchild is at first, and that puts India into scoring position.
Here's Tyler Stevenson. He's 0 for 3.
Smoke pass, short base hit. India around third. He scores. It's 5-0. Kevin Newman, a home run, a double. Rolled again, pass short. Fairchild scores. Stevenson up to second, 6-0. The Rays have homered in all 16 games out of the gate.
Well, here we go on to the ninth. Josh Lowe sends this one deep into center field, all the way to the wall and gone. And he hits it out.
Well, if the Rays don't come all the way back, at least they did that. They kept their home run streak going. They had homered at every game this season.
So 2 gone. And now hitting Vidal Brujan.
Kevin Herget splashed into the show as a Ray. Now as a Red. Gets the final out as the Reds rock the Rays. They tame baseball's best. They take the opener 8-1.
Alrighty, well, some excitement coming out of Cincinnati last night, and I think it feels good to talk about the Reds picking up the victory over the Tampa Bay Rays, considerably one of the best teams in baseball today, coming into yesterday's game 14-2. They didn't lose their first game until over the weekend, a matter of fact. And it's like, well, great, and this is, the continuance of a 20 consecutive games in a row. And it seemed like everything kind of just fit together. The Rays put up 1 run in 8 hits, 1 error. The Reds, 8 runs, 7 hits, and 2 errors. And, I was listening to Locked On Reds this morning, getting ready for the program. And he kind of, they were kind of talking about how the lineup was adjusted for just the Rays itself. And David Bell did quite a good job. I mean, you saw Senzel up there in the middle of the lineup. Friedel, was 1 for 3 last night, and he was batting 9th. And so you saw a lot of contributions. Kevin Newman, this is the guy. This is the reason why we picked this guy up heading into this season, because he puts on performances like he did last night. 3 for 4, 2 runs scored in, 2 RBIs, including a home run in the second inning off of Beeks. And we kind of got ourselves a little bit of scare yesterday, because Hunter Greene, the starter, only goes in for 3 innings, giving up 3 hits, 1 striking out 1 batter. He gets a ball in the 3rd inning, bounced off of his leg, the leg that wraps around. So his right leg that wraps around, it kind of hits off his leg, and he ended up. They ended up taking him out of the game. They did X-rays, and he looks pretty good. So which is exciting. And they still pick up a victory, which got you nervous. But let's hear what Hunter Greene had to say about his injury.
It's super tight. I'm going to be real, but yeah, it sucks. Bullpen did an amazing job. I don't even want to talk about myself. I just want to talk about the team. Everybody did a great job being able to come in, and especially Buck. Buck was super last minute with getting the nod to come in. And he was able to get out there. And I was talking to him. I know he wanted to finish with 2 innings, just with his own self-work and stuff. But I'm really happy for him, and the rest of the staff did an amazing job.
How thankful are you that the X-rays were negative, and the concern would be your next start? Is there concern over that?
Yeah, happy that it's negative. It sucks. I mean, I want to make every start, so I'm going to do my best to work on, trying to get to 100% so I can make my next start. I really wanted to finish that inning. I knew I could finish it. But yeah, as soon as I came in and kind of stood, and it wasn't really moving and activating it, it tightened up right away. And it would be foolish to go back out there. I mean, I really wanted to just to go out there and be able to compete for the team. But I would be using nothing but arm, and just it's too early in the season and just wouldn't make sense. To deal with the adversity of being hit, in that inning, and then being able to throw that pitch for that strikeout, I think just really happy just for myself and my development, the amount of work that I put in that pitch, and knowing that I can execute that pitch moving forward for the rest of the season and beyond. Just keeping guys off balance. Steve did a pretty good job with his game calling for those three, and my stuff wasn't as sharp as before, but I think I was able to come out of there without any runs because of that, being able to mix up timing. And they're a team that has really good pitch selection. They don't strike out a whole ton. They will take their walks. They won't really chase, but the right guys being able to expand and set up those pitches are super important with these guys.
So that was Hunter Greene in the conversation about the ball that went off of his right leg, and they took him out after 3 innings to preserve him. He went back, he did x-rays, and everything came out negative, which is a good thing. So, if you expect him to pitch in 5 days, we're talking about Saturday or Sunday against the Pirates. Now, if you're asking me, we don't want to do anything to provoke or to injure Hunter Greene at any chance, because he's going to play such a key factor. So, the weather is kind of, warming up, which is great. You give him a couple of days rest. You hit on the road over the weekend. And I say you kind of wait until the beginning of next week. If it was up to me, I would wait until next week and let's reevaluate him and, see where he's at. Give him a couple extra days, because you don't want anything to affect him at any point. When it comes down to it, when we got to the bullpen, Buck Farmer was the first guy out there. He pitched an inning and a third, giving up 1 hit. And whenever your starting pitcher, especially your ace pitcher, as in Green or Lodolo or even Ashcraft for that matter, gets taken out of the game after 3 innings because of an injury, it not only scares you for the future, but it scares you because you go into the bullpen. And let's be honest, this bullpen isn't a bullpen that... This bullpen is not the greatest. This bullpen has its fair share of troubles. And when you get so early on in that game, and I think those 3 runs in the bottom of the 4th inning really helped the Reds and the bullpen to give confidence. You get throwing Alex Young, you got Gibbott in there, and Herget, who goes 2 innings, giving up 2 hits, 1 run. And it's like, okay, well, there is some sort of confidence that when the Reds had to pick up the last 6 innings of the ball game, like, okay, that's a good way to go into a series. And you just got done beating one of the better teams in baseball today because of it. And we also want to hear about what David Bell had to say when it came down to the Reds and how they performed in last night's victory. Here is David Bell with his updates last night.
Easy and well deserved to point to the bullpen and the job that they did. You lose your starter that early in the game for the game to end up like that. A lot of things have to go right, and our bullpen did a great job. There were big defensive plays and then big hits along the way. In particular, I thought TJ Friedel's hit with the bases loaded there, and then Jake Fraley's play, just kind of picking teammates up, making big plays to kind of stop momentum. That play, that was one of the best plays I've seen all year. Well, it's not fractured or anything like that, but those type of contusions, you have to be on top of it, because they can turn into a bigger issue. So I know our training staff has been on top of it, and as of right now, the goal is to have them make the next start. They're asked to do a lot. They're asked to go into games and turning points of games against the best of hitters, and when the game's on the line, and I'm happy with the job that they've done. I mean, they've really, up and down the line, they've all gone above and beyond really their role even coming into the season. So we've asked a lot of them early, and but I think that's a good thing. I think they're getting more and more confident as a group, individually and as a group.
I mean, we know that this is going to be a building team, right? This is no surprise, no secrets, and we knew that there was going to be struggles, and it does get very scary when you sit there and you're like, hey, we have Hunter Greene, who had a scare yesterday, and the bullpen. But listen, you go out there, you beat a team that's 14-2, and you do it with your bullpen, and you just do it with playing simple baseball. You're not going to go hit 3 or 4 home runs in a game off of the Rays. It's right now where they're at in this season, and Kevin Newman, 3 for 4. He was a triple away of the cycle. It makes me look forward to the remainder of the homestands, right? So I'm taking this by stands alone, right? They had a 6-game homestands to begin the season off, which they finished off, but they won 3-2 because the last game was postponed to September. And then they didn't do so great against Philadelphia on the road and Atlanta. And they went 1 for 7, and then they come back home. They took 2 of 4 against Philadelphia, so that right now they're 3-2 on their homestands. And what better way before you head off on the road to Pittsburgh that you go on and take a 2 of 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays. And I think that I'd sit here and I say, okay, let's go. I'm all for it. And picking up a victory last night just kind of puts me in that position of, okay, they can win. They have a good chance at winning tonight when they throw Nick Lodolo out there on the mound. They have a chance of winning on Wednesday, even if that's either Connor Overton or if that's even Luis Sessa or even Graham Ashcraft. I mean, so to finish off this homestands, I think it would be important, and I think it would be a very beneficial homestands, and I would be very proud of the Reds if they could go on and take 2 of 3 before they head on the road to Pittsburgh in a 4-game series. So that's what they're looking forward to tonight. First pitch is at 6:40. Tampa Bay Rays come into tonight's game 14-3. Will take on the Cincinnati Reds, who are 7-9. For Tampa Bay, you have Taj Bradley, who last pitched against Boston on the 12th of April. He's 1-0 on the season. Comes in with a 5.4 ERA. As Nick Lodolo, who's last pitched on April 13th against the Phillies, he's coming in today's game 2-0 with a 2.12 ERA, only giving up 8 hits and 2 runs. Very good numbers from both pitchers in their last outing. So expect tonight to be a really good matchup. I expect Nick Lodolo kind of going, giving the bullpen a little bit of a break, and then coming on back and trying to take the series. And it's a great way to wrap up, a homestands tonight and tomorrow. So great. Can't wait to come back and talk about it tomorrow after the game. So we'll talk about that. Hey, let's get to our last break of the day. Let's get you up to date with the NHL and the NBA playoffs. Talk about the ejection that Draymond Green had last night against the Kings. That's all still to come. Bottom half of the program, you're listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Bottom half of the hour, go ahead. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the TNC Sports Talk merchandise page, which is back. You guys can grab your jackets, hoodies, tank tops, coffee mugs, notepads, pillows, tapestries, whatever it is, thanks to TeePublic. You guys can get today's merchandise by heading on over to teepublic.com/user/TNC-sports-talk today. You guys also see if you guys are watching this is the QR code. Scan the QR code and it'll take you right to the page. I got a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, but I'm expected to be still doing a show at some point tomorrow. So I know I'm lazy. I guess you call me lazy at when we actually tell you, all right, up to date when we're doing a show, but we're live. Bottom of hour number 2, wrapping up the program. Breaking news coming out of today's Buffalo Bills general manager, Brandon Beane, has officially announced that Damar Hamlin is cleared to resume full football activities. As an article came out today, it's all over ESPN, NFL Network. Damar Hamlin, who collapsed, and in other words, died on the football field back in January on Monday Night Football in a game on the road against the Bills to practically determine the seeding for the AFC playoff race. The game was canceled halfway through the first quarter when Damar Hamlin collapsed. CPR recitation was performed on the field, and he was made a recovery, came home to Buffalo, and according to general manager, says that Damar Hamlin has been cleared to resume football activities. So that was breaking news coming out of today, which we're just happy. Congratulations to him. Hopefully everything works, is well and he's healthy. I'm always concerned, as a concerning person can be. Hold on one second. I'm just texting the wife because we just bought ourselves a bird feeder, which is right there on my patio, and I see it, and you can see the birds just flying, and she's so excited. And so I just provided an update, when you have like 4 or 5 of them on the tray at once. So Damar Hamlin returns, exciting time. All right, so kind of one thing I want to talk to you before we get down to NHL and NBA playoff highlights and whatnot. We have had some interesting news. Okay, I want to invite you guys here. So we've been working with Enlightened Studios the last couple of months, and summertime is approaching us, and we continue to work with Enlightened Studios. Love's Not Enough. Not Love's Not Enough. Excuse me. That was a theater play that was put on. Enlightened Studios have a lot more than theater plays, by the way. They got theater, they got films, they got painting, they got other activities. Enlightened Studios Incorporation, it thrives itself off of building other people up around them. And they have these upcoming festivals in Cincinnati that they're volunteering, and they will like you to join them and volunteer with you guys, with them. Enjoy, a summer full of live music, great foods, and great beverages at this year's 2023 Cincinnati Festivals down there on the levee at Newport. It's right there on the riverbanks, that little by the Newport Aquarium, just right down there. And they want you to volunteer. We got 3 festivals coming up. The first one is the Italian Festival from June 8th through the 11th, the Taco Festival from June 23rd through the 25th, and the Celtic Festival from July 14th through the 16th. Okay. They recommend, they're asking volunteers, volunteer with them and keep your tips. Yes, that's a very big incentive for asking you guys to volunteer and being part of this group. It's a wonderful time. Hoping I could get out there and do a couple of live programs with them. If you guys are interested in wanting to take part of this today, email enlightenedstudios.cincy@gmail.com. That is enlightenedstudios.cincy@gmail.com for more information. Hurry up, quick. They are filling up pretty fast. So get your time slots reserved today. Like I said, you got to keep your tips. And I mean, it's great stuff that they're going on. So excited to be a part of Enlightened Studios and what they do each and every day. Playoffs are among us. The NHL just began yesterday with a handful of games, and they continue into today, and we are going to be following these games. Now, I'm not too knowledgeable or too in-depth with playoff games, but it's an exciting time. So we kicked things off yesterday as Carolina beat the New York Islanders 2-1. Boston beat Florida 3-1. Minnesota beat Dallas in overtime 3-2, and the Los Angeles Kings beat Edmonton 4-3 in overtime. Just kind of theories and thoughts. I like Boston. I like Los Angeles. Nothing against any other team, but those are just kind of what I've been favorite towards. Today, we have the New York Rangers and the New Jersey Devils taking, for the first game coming up. Tampa Bay and Toronto is also later on today. Winnipeg and Vegas tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then Seattle and Colorado also tonight. So if you guys are wanting to watch some hockey playoffs, be my guest. Tune on. And I think I know the Hockey Network, but they got a couple other channels going on. All right, we also got the NBA playoffs that's been lurking through. As yesterday, Philadelphia beat Brooklyn 96-84, and Sacramento beat Golden State 114-106. Today's games, we got Atlanta Hawks taking on Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks taking on Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Los Angeles Clippers on the road to take on the Phoenix Suns. That's all today's games ahead of us down the road. So a lot of great stuff going on. Playoff time. I just, one thing that I feel, which is just bad for, the one thing I don't like is how, long NBA can push out these basketball games. So that's kind of where I'm like, okay. They just really make it they just make it kind of difficult. All right, so last night, let's address the elephant in the room. Because last night, and by the way, if you guys are wanting to watch Damar Hamlin right now, he's on ESPN. I'm sure there's going to be videos all over the place, and maybe tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about Damar Hamlin. So last night, it seems like the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings have been getting into some big heat over the last few games as this first round continues. The one thing I'm going to say about the playoffs, for any playoffs for that matter, it gets very personal. It gets very aggressive and intense. And sometimes things happen that, in spite of wanting to win. If you're not there wanting to win, then what are you there for? So, and it seems like, Draymond Green wants to win, but he seems to be on the bad end of all of this. Green was ejected in yesterday's ball game as the Warriors lost 114-106 as the Sacramento Kings go up 2-0 in the first round. Reportedly, Green believes he's hurt his ankles when the Kings' big man grabbed it. And what they're referring to, there was yet another controversial last night when there was some in the fourth quarter. Incident came, where there was Malachi Monk who missed a floater. Sacramento Kings Domantas Sabonis was on the ground after the missed shot, and he grabbed Green's foot from there. He was assessed in flagrant for one foul for that, but Green, in frustration, stomped on Sabonis' chest while he was still on the ground. Green was assessed for flagrant 2 fouls and ejected from the game as a result. Kings went on to win the game, scoring 23 points in the last 7 minutes of the game without Green on the floor. I kept on watching this, and I think I have to argue both sides of the ball game. Let's be honest. Of Sabonis, he kind of looked like he did grab the foot and held on to it a little bit to kind of prevent Draymond to go toward, to move down the court. Maybe that was instant reaction, but I still believe that Draymond, his foot, like he looked like he was stomping on the center chest of Sabonis. After the game, Sabonis needed to receive X-ray surgery on his ribs and lungs, the area where Green stamped on him, according to ESPN Adam Rognarewski. However, according to Mark Spears, he wasn't the only player to get X-rayed after the game. Green also requested an X-ray on his right ankle after feeling soreness, and he reportedly believes that he injured it when Sabonis grabbed his ankle. Green attempted to justify what happened by claiming that he had nowhere else to put his foot and that the officials were letting the Kings grab him. He goes on and says in the press conference after the game, he says, and I quote, "My leg got grabbed. Second time in 2 nights. Referees just watched it. I got to land my foot somewhere, and I'm not the most stretchable person, so I'm not stretching that far. I can only step so far before putting my leg down." Now, okay, there's a balanced circumstance. If you haven't watched this, I recommend going back and watching it. I'm not putting it on the air here today, but go back and watch this incident. And I mean, this is going to be a controversial scene, in my belief, because who are you going to believe, for one? And does it really matter? This is going to be an aggressive postseason, and when you're that good of a player, the opponents are going to do whatever they take to kind of ruin that and sabotage that. Yet again, same thing with the referees. If you're that good of a player, they're going to watch you. And if you have a past, then they're going to pay attention for you. And, I've been listening to it all the time. I'm not going to play the entire highlights or interviews and all that stuff. I'm just reading what's available on the CBS article and then kind of weighing in my thoughts and opinion. They continue to write, it's unclear what, if any, X-rays on Green's ankle showed. Game 3 is on, series will take place on Thursday in San Francisco. Through an injury isn't the only thing Green will need to worry about. He will also face possible league discipline for the foul. Green, all right, let me continue this article here before we wrap up. Green has been suspended in the postseason before, all the way back to 2016 NBA Finals. Now, whether it's due to his ankle or discipline from the league office, there appears to be a chance that he'll miss another critical playoff game for the Warriors, which is going to be, I think, honestly, this puts in some bigger and badder news, in my opinion, that leads towards, all right, what's going on? There's going to be argument about how this, what this play was legitimate. I think at the end of the day, when you don't have a place to step, I get it. I would stumble to the ground, but the motion and his body language looked like he was intentionally stomping down, regardless if Sabonis grabbed onto his leg for any extended period of time. And I like the officials' call for, pointing a foul towards Sabonis because, I think he held onto the leg a little too long, and I think it was intentional, right? But there's actions throughout the game where I think this was warranted. Where you knew these two men were going to get into it at some point. The stomping on the chest, where now he's defenseless, I think is the bigger fraction for gosh, excuse me. I have a brain. I'm having like a brain aneurysm here, but for Draymond Green, and regardless, I think if there is something to show on the X-rays, I think this is a little petty, but if there is something to show on the X-rays, then I think the NBA league officials need to consider that in the consideration. But it already looks bad on Draymond when he has a past record showing. And he is also someone who is currently dealing with this, Sacramento Kings team. This is a best out of 5, right? We're heading into game 3 where Golden State is down 2-0 already in the season, right? I mean, in this postseason. Without Draymond Green in that lineup or on the field for any time, he's going to have to get over himself. He's going to have to come to a point where, all right, I got to do what I got to do. I got to get over myself, and I got to be here and try to win for the team. And put my differences aside, put my ego aside, and say, just get through it, and we'll get to the next game. But the way that Draymond Green acts, I think it becomes, and I'm not saying he's not validated. He's validated, but we already know it's hurting him, and it's hurting him in the long run. And I think that's where it hurts the most, right? Especially for the Warriors, who expect better from their players. So they'll get the night off. They'll get the next 2 days off. They'll come back to, they'll just head up to Golden, to their arena, bus drive over, and they'll get a chance to, kind of shape things for game 3. But they're on very thin ice because they don't have many rooms for mistake. The next game you lose is over, right? Their playoff season's over and Sacramento moves on. So, I don't know. I thought this was kind of ridiculous. I don't necessarily see much of it other than it's like, it's playoffs. Let the guys play. You get hurt. You can say the game's unfair. Well, you know what? You're gonna receive what you give out, and both teams won it. However you want to look at it, both teams won. All right, wrap it up on the program. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Be sure to tune us back in tomorrow for another edition of the Throw-In. And man, we're just getting our week started. So, want to say so long until tomorrow. Thank you guys for listening and watching the Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.